Our next guest is a man on the move. Checking Marcelo Lehninger's online itinerary, you'll find him in Michigan today and across the globe tomorrow. Literally. Marcelo is the new music director for the Grand Rapids Symphony. When he's not raising a baton in West Michigan, he's guest conducting in South America, Europe, and Asia. He joins us in studio today to talk about multinational meanderings and music, always music. Marcelo, bem-vindo. Welcome to Feel Like You Belong.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, you're a man on the move. I think you may have gotten this from your parents.
A little bit, yes. I came from a musical family, so both of my parents, they're musicians. My father is a violinist. My mom is a pianist. And so
How did they meet?
They actually met in Germany because my father is German, and my mom went to Germany to study piano. So they met there, and they lived many years in Germany, and then later they went back to Brazil. She went back to Brazil, and my father went to Brazil. Yeah.
Okay. So you just are an itinerant family, right? You're not afraid of oceans, I guess.
No, not at all. I love oceans.
Yeah. So talk about what life was like growing up in the Lehninger household.
Well, it was music 24/7. I always joke that if I go home and tell my parents I want to be a lawyer or a doctor, that'll be very, very, very exotic in our family. So it was natural. We were raised with music, music 24/7, and pretty much that surrounds a lot of other things that are natural for a musician. Or if you have a music career, you're always in rehearsals or concerts or traveling or practicing. And I saw, for example, the discipline that you need to have to become a musician. And I saw that with my parents. So
because you need thousands of hours to do this professionally.
Absolutely.
To develop those skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So your first instrument was piano, correct?
It was actually piano, but I don't remember much of that because I was really young, and I guess was more kind of an informal way of going to the piano and playing. And then I started the violin when I was 6, probably, and violin was my main instrument until actually later I decided to go back to piano and study piano again, and then conducting.
So, but you were when we were talking earlier, you had mentioned that. Intensive practice, especially for kids, you could burn out doing that. Talk about what happened to you maybe age 10?
Yes, I think when I was about 10, I want to get a taste of what was to be a normal kid at that age, because
everyone else is playing soccer
and going to the beach and traveling, and and I was in a room studying violin, and sometimes I had to say no for things that I wanted to do just because I had the discipline and the commitment to my instrument. And at that age, I was already playing in an orchestra and playing violin recitals and doing all that stuff. So I took a sabbatical when I was 10, and I decided for almost a year that I just want to be a normal kid, and I was not playing any instrument. Of course, always connected to music.
Frustrate your parents, or did they understand?
They didn't really. I think they knew that I needed that break before going back to music. They were not freaking out about it. No.
Wise musicians, and maybe had experienced that themselves. Yeah. So what was it like just around the house? Were there always many concerts going on?
Yes, a lot of concerts, and my house actually was fun. It was a fun place to grow up because we had a lot of people coming. They're artists and
musical friends
and wonderful soloists and conductors and composers and just listening to recordings and having dinner and talking about music. It was really lively in that regard, and a lot of us just playing with each other, doing chamber music. My sister is also a violinist, so we're always playing together somehow.
And now your sister lives in the States.
She does. She lives in New Hampshire.
Okay. Has she been to visit you in your new home?
Yes. Oh. And yeah, she's also a violinist, and she teaches in the university. So we're all musicians.
Super, super. Now, going back to this theme of itinerancy, you met your wife when one of you was not in their native country. Tell us that story. Her name is Laura.
Yes, Laura, and she's American. She grew up in Colorado, in Denver. But Laura lived in Brazil for 3 years. She was in Rio, and she's the only non-musician in the family. I had to stop the clan at some point. And I was the only hope, I guess. And then Laura works with public health, and she was working with public health projects in Brazil, and we met there through mutual friends.
She speaks fluent Portuguese?
Fluently, much better than my English. So she's
Wow.
wonderful, and yeah, we met in Brazil, and then later we came here.
Okay. And I suppose that marrying a musician who is this itinerant, she has to understand that, okay, we may be moving around a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. But the good thing about her is she likes that. You know, she likes to live in other places and explore new cultures and new people and new places. So she's been a wonderful, wonderful partner in that regard.
Wonderful. As I mentioned also in the intro, you are traveling a lot. In fact, tomorrow you're leaving the country. Just tell us briefly about your current itinerary for the next month.
For March, so tomorrow I'm going to Slovenia, and I'll be there for a week in Slovenia working with the local orchestra, Slovenia Philharmonic. And then I'm going to Italy for a few days, and then I'm going to Vienna. I'm actually doing my conducting debut in Vienna. I've been there many times and worked there, but first I'm conducting. And
long history of music in that city.
Yes, it's a wonderful city. And then from there I'm going to Arizona, to Tucson, and then back in Grand Rapids.
Fantastic. Well, it's good that you have a patient wife back home watching the kids, and yeah.
I couldn't do without her.
Absolutely. So will these kids be playing music?
Hopefully. You know,
What age can you reasonably start kids with music?
depends. Really depends on what instrument you want to play. You know, violin, for example, it's an instrument you need to start very young. Piano, also somewhat young. Cello, you can wait a little bit longer. So it really depends on the instrument. I want my kids to have a musical education. I want them to understand music and appreciate music, not necessarily to have a career in music. If they want, I will guide them, but if they don't want to go and have a professional career in music, I'll be okay with that.
So if they decide to go into engineering or the law, you wouldn't be disappointed?
Absolutely not.
Failures. Good.
No.
Good. I'd like to change topics a little bit and talk about your time in Grand Rapids. What are you doing with the Grand Rapids Symphony?
A lot of exciting things. I mean, Grand Rapids Symphony, it's a wonderful orchestra. When I came here for the first time, I came here as a guest conductor. And I started conducting the orchestra, and in the first 5 minutes of rehearsal, I said, wow, I knew nothing about Grand Rapids.
And it's not a big city, it's a medium-sized city for people around the country who don't know this town.
But very vibrant. There's a lot going on here. And I was very happily surprised with the symphony and the level of the symphony. So it is really wonderful, and the community really supports the symphony, which is a wonderful thing. So the symphony right now, it's in a place both artistically and financially that we're ready to reach the next step. And so we've been working a lot, not only everything that we do in the community. We have many educational projects. We go to many places in West Michigan and perform for them.
For example?
We do a lot of run-out concerts in neighbor cities. We play some concerts in churches. We go to hospitals. We go to schools. We have
maybe not the full orchestra.
Sometimes we go with full orchestras.
Okay.
And also we have thousands of kids coming to our educational programs. So in addition to all the programs we do inside the hall. And also we're working a lot now in the visibility of the orchestra in the musical industry. So we're going to Carnegie Hall in April. We're performing in New York City.
That's a big deal.
Which is a big deal. The orchestra has been there more than a decade ago. So it's wonderful that now we're going back to that very prestigious hall with one of the most important Brazilian pianists, that exist, Nelson Freire. And so we've been receiving wonderful soloists, high-level people like Sarah Chang, Gabriela Monteiro, Jean-Yves Thibaudet, Nelson Freire. And so it's really exciting moment in our orchestra.
That's fantastic. So for people who have not yet visited the Grand Rapids Symphony, what would you recommend?
Well, the first thing, go online. Our website is www.grsymphony.org, and you can find a lot of information there. You can find our programs, our concerts, the calendar, and all the information that you
So
need.
for a lot of people who are maybe a little bit afraid, like, oh, this might be too highbrow for me, what kind of programming could you recommend for them?
Well, this is your symphony. We're there for you. So if you're here in this community, we're there for you. You're encouraged to go in every concert that we perform. We have many different series. We have, of course, the classical series, where we perform a little bit more traditional classical music concerts, as well as music of 20th and 21st century, American, South American, European. I mean, it's when we talk about classical music, we need to understand we're talking about 400+ years of music. So there's a lot of eclectic music right there.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, we play pops concerts, we play holiday pops concerts, we play movie with music, we play concerts designed for young people. We play summer concerts, outdoor concerts.
Where do you play outdoors?
At the Canonsburg Ski Resort.
Oh, fantastic.
And we play holiday pops. I mean, we play a lot of different genres and different throughout the season, which if you like music, which I don't know a human being that doesn't, you will find something you like, and we're there for you.
Awesome, awesome. And I think it's important because we've got people of different ages, people with different kinds of musical experience, but if they visit your website, they can likely find something for their taste.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. I want to go back because earlier you and I had been talking about the fact that we all come from somewhere. And you know, your native country of Brazil is particularly fond of music. It just seems that rhythm permeates the sensibilities and really the bodies of people who live there. Talk about what it means to bring your Brazilian self to your conducting.
Well, this season actually we are exploring a lot of South American composers and specifically Brazilian composers. The Carnegie Hall program, actually, we have 2 pieces by Villa-Lobos, which is a wonderful Brazilian composer, and we have a Brazilian soloist. So because, of course, I am from Brazil, I like to conduct the music of my country and to present the music of my country in many places that I go. And so I'm very happy to bring a little bit of that Brazilian flavor in our season.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. We're going to wrap up in just a moment, but the theme of our show is belonging. You've lived in lots of places and traveled a lot. For you, what embodies the sense of this is home or this can be home?
Well, I've been here for 14 years now in the United States, and I'm married to an American. Mm-hmm. So, and I like to travel. I like to explore other cultures and other countries. So, you know, I'm always very open to different cultures, and so and I always find myself trying to find myself comfortable in different places that I go. But here, of course, the first thing is my family. I think home for me is where my family is. And since arriving here, this country received me so well and gave me so many wonderful opportunities. I made a lot of wonderful friends, and I've been having a very active career here in music. So I can always be thankful and enjoying my life and enjoying working here. I found that working in the US, there is a very good thing about it because people are very professional. Mm-hmm. You know, the planning process, which in a symphony orchestra is huge. Sometimes you plan 2 or 3 seasons in advance, and that level of professionalism in the administration, even with American orchestras, is wonderful. So it's a very good place for you to work in my field, and I've been enjoying that a lot.
That's super. But I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us, because I know you've got packing to do when you get back home. But thanks for coming and sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching on TV, stay tuned for our following segments on information and humor. If you're watching us on the internet, I hope we will check out our other conversations with the extraordinary expats who are working to make these United States a more melodic place.